You know when a friend of yours tells you that you have a surprise party and then goes, I wanted to tell you, but make sure you act surprised. And you're like, what? Why did you tell me then? So then we had this recently. It was a surprise party, but there was going to be a surprise at my party that someone told me about. I'm not going to tell you. It was weird. And they said you need to, like, we started practicing how I was going to react so that I would seem surprised. And we've all done this before. You know, a surprise party coming, you walk in, you're like, wait, is this for me? Oh my God. Stop. Right? That whole dog and pony show. Well, Trump had to do a similar thing where a reporter was like, John Bolton was just indicted. And Trump went, what? Really? We know you directed this, dude. You're just telling me this for the... Well, shit.
President John Bolton was just indicted by a grand jury in Maryland. Do you have a reaction to that?
I didn't know that. You tell me for the first time, but I think he's, a bad person. I think he's a bad guy. Yeah, he's a bad guy. It's too bad, but that's the way it goes.
Have you reviewed the case against him?
That's the way it goes, right? That's the way it goes. Will I what?
Have you reviewed the case against him?
No, I haven't. But I just think he's a bad person. Okay.
So there's so many things. Imagine if a reporter said, President Biden, what do you have to say to Trump being indicted for the fourth time? And Biden went, oh, you're telling me this for the first time? But he's a bad guy. So this is how it goes. MAGA would have lost their mind. And I know we're doing this a lot on the show. MAGA would have. They don't care if you call out the inconsistency, but I still want to, because the answer would always be, hey, I'm not going to comment on that. That has nothing to do with me. But we know Trump has this list of people because he posted it publicly. So you can't post, indict my enemies to Pam, or it's supposed to be a private message, but he accidentally posted it publicly, and then turn around and go, oh, wow, that's just unfortunate. But he is a bad guy. And that's not... You don't get indicted for being a bad guy. That's not how it works. So don't put this up yet. Try to think to yourself, what do you think Bolton got indicted for? What do you think he got indicted for? It can't be for speaking out against Trump, which is the real reason Trump doesn't like him. It can't be for exposing Trump, for how unhinged he was behind the scenes. So surely they picked something that wouldn't literally be the thing that Trump did more egregiously than anyone but got away with, right? Right? Wrong. Bolton pleads not guilty to charges of mishandling classified documents. What? I mean, they're spitting in our faces going, yeah, we're not just going to go after our political enemies. We're going to go after Letitia James for mortgage fraud. After she went after Trump for fraud of a similar sort, but much bigger and much realer. And we're going to go after Bolton for classified documents. You told me that you get to keep whatever documents you want. John R. Bolton, the former national security advisor to President Trump, who became one of the most outspoken critics, pleaded not guilty on Friday, charges he had mishandled classified information. Now, again, when Trump deliberately, explicitly promised to do this to his enemies, you can't take any of it seriously. If they actually found reason for, if real investigators found that Bolton mishandled classified documents, I'm all for law and order, and he'll have his day in court, etc. But we can't let that distract from just how brazen what Trump is doing is, which is trying, in some ways, as absurdly as possible, like this, to lock up his political enemies on something that he got away with. And
I did everything right and they indicted me.
They told us was political persecution for his classified documents. Mr. Bolton, in a navy suit and a red tie, appeared in federal... I don't need to know what color he was... What is this, New York Times? Wasting words. His stash was stronger than ever. He does have I'm not... I'm not for indicting him for the classified documents. I would be on board with indicting him for his mustache. A day after he was indicted by a grand jury on 18 counts of either transmitting or illegally retaining classified information. Such a joke. Much of that was in the form of notes about his day-to-day work for Mr. Trump. The magistrate judge released Mr. Bolton on the condition that he remain in the U.S., accusing him of using personal email and a messaging app to share more than 1,000 pages of notes, which included national defense information with two family members who did not have security clearances. So what Hegseth did, literally what Hegseth did. It's literally what Hegseth did. No, but worse, the relatives were Mr. Bolton's wife and daughter. They spoke of, okay. So whatever. I mean, if he mishandled classified documents, bad boy. But the bigger story here is exactly what Trump promised us that he would do. Do we want to read this? Bolton responded, you got to TikTokify that. I can't read that. But he was opposed to it and saying this is him being targeted. And I believe him. And it's stuff like this that caused Trump to hate him so much. While you watch it, please do. If you appreciate the show, click the subscribe button right below the video. Check to make sure you are subscribed. Some people notice they'll get unsubscribed, which is psychotic. But just subscribe. That's all I ask.
I think he has a fascination with authoritarian leaders generally. I think Trump would like to be a big guy, but I don't think he's smart enough to be a dictator.
So is Trump, what's the term, an idiot?
Well, I think Rex Tillerson had the iconic two-word description of Trump. The first word I won't repeat even on your show, the second of which was moron.
Okay, I'll throw it in there.
That's pretty much on point. That's
Yes,
right.
a moron.
Right.
Can a moron still be a useful idiot?
I think the answer to that's yes, and I think Vladimir Putin understands.
I mean, that stash is criminal. That's the criminal act right there. That's thick. That's thick. The body is such an interesting thing, you know? Like how clearly he doesn't have crazy hair genes elsewhere, but it's just all in one place. Anyway, that's just silly. But yeah, our greatest, the most powerful wall in between us and a dictatorship is Trump's incompetency. That's it. Now, that's really scary, but that's the best thing we can cheer on is that he'll just be too incompetent to do all the worst things, many of which he's figuring out how to do, that he intends on doing. Like, he's now getting his IRS. Oh, gosh, I'm going to go insane. Which he accused Biden of doing to go after his political enemies, which is explicitly against the law. And a part of why Richard Nixon was impeached. Trump team plans IRS overhaul to enable pursuit of left-leaning groups. Effort would install Trump ally at agency's criminal unit who has drawn up a list of investigative targets to give hell to people like Soros and liberal groups that they don't like. And someone posted this from Nixon's impeachment, just reminding us this is part of why he was impeached. And now Trump's doing it out in the open, even after he said
they would use every instrument of government power, including the IRS, to try to shut you down. And I will never allow the IRS to be used as a political weapon, as it has been and currently is. It is currently being used, but has been used so viciously, so violently against many people in this room.
I will never allow the IRS to be used as a political weapon. Donald Trump, October 2019. I'm only laughing so I don't cry.
I feel like I'm dying inside.
Yeah. Michael Schmidt said, new 10 months into Trump's second term, we can make two conclusions. Number one, the containers, the guardrails in his first term were indeed containing him as much as we thought. Number two, the warnings those containers like John Kelly made before the election about what Trump would do if he didn't have guardrails have proved to be true. I've started to reevaluate because I've been so nauseated by people who knew that Trump was bad, but like in his first term would work for him. And then would leave and go, yeah, that was crazy. And you would go, well, then why'd you serve him? But some of them would say, well, because I knew someone was going to have to be chief of staff, like John Kelly, general, or these other other people. Bolton is more, but you know, other people. And they would say it was because someone was going to have to fill that role. And I'd rather be me and maybe I can rein Trump in than someone more crazy. And I would go, come on. But at some point, I'm starting to reevaluate a little bit. There was some truth to that. There really was some truth to the first term was a disaster, especially when Trump was having to deal with a crisis, and we saw a moment where you need presidential leadership, all of the flaws in his leadership, and then the end when he tried not to leave office. And there were other bad parts of it, but it wasn't anything like what we're seeing now. And I think a lot of that had to do with Trump would go after Hillary, and they would go, yeah, sure, we're on it, and then not do it. And he would do this. He would direct, I want the IRS to look into XYZ. And they would go, oh man, yeah. And then not do it, and he would forget about it because of the thing that Bolton just said in that clip. And now there's none of those people. And it's just filled with loyalists. And that's why it's as unhinged as it is now. Because to run an administration, yes, you could be unhinged as president, but you need people to actually do the stuff that you want to do. And now he has the people who will do it. The only hope we have is his aging and his exhaustion just makes him, and his brain causes him to just like lose interest in some of these authoritarian projects.
So I'd like to thank all of the people that are here, and I think we'll start with Dr. Oz and Ms. Horn. We'll go through the list and we'll listen. And yesterday I did this, and I stood for about an hour and a half as people spoke. And I said, this time I'm sitting right there, and I'm going to watch you. I stood for an hour and a half like this. I said, you got to be kidding. Here we go. It was one after another, and it was wonderful listening to him. But I said, if I have to do this every day, Bobby, should I stand or sit? Thank you, Bobby. Please, Dr. Oz.
Okay. Mr. President, I'm going to jump in here real quick.
Okay, I've been standing for 30 minutes. So again, it's the incompetency and the exhaustion that are our only hopes. Look at this. During the meeting, he was struggling to stay awake. And if you're MAGA, I don't know why you watched this far, but thank you for watching this far. And you're thinking, what about Biden? Yeah, Biden got sleepy. But Biden wasn't trying to do these insane things like Trump is. And so I was hoping someone would put a shot of something into Biden's butt. I hope they don't with him, because I want him to get too sleepy to do all of this. And on that same theme, he's just out publicly saying, against the law, without congressional authorization, we're just going to permanently end projects if Democrats liked them. However much that hurts their constituency, because as Levitt said, their constituency is mainly terrorists. So why would we give new bridges to terrorists?
Got a lot of people paid, actually. We got the people that we want paid, okay? And we want the FBI paid, we want the military paid. We got the people that we want paid. And I'll tell you, the Democrats, they don't talk about this. You know, we're getting rid of programs that we didn't like, but that were negotiated in, but we didn't like. We're terminating those programs, and they're going to be terminated on a permanent basis. And it's thousands of people, and it's billions of dollars. We're getting rid of a lot of things that we never wanted because of the fact that they made this stupid move, and they don't want to talk about it. You know, they have their day coming up. I hear very.
We're talking about it. Why does he think that's an advantage? You're admitting, which is not how shutdowns work, that you're just going to, without congressional authorization, already appropriated funds outside of your legal authority, not implement legally demanded projects based on previous laws because Schumer wanted it, which he goes on to say. Schumer really wanted this $20 billion for New York. Was that the figure? Billions and billions for New York in infrastructure projects. But we do have money for Argentina, I'll remind you. And then this isn't a profound one. Listen.
You build what's called a reverse bathtub, and it's not that uncommon, but it is actually a reverse. You seal it. The problem is nature always wins. I know a lot about reverse bathtubs. I've done it, and it's something you only do in emergency. There was no reason.
And then, importantly, ProPublica, because ICE doesn't want to reveal this information, was able to piece together this data set, which is reporting we found that more than 170 U.S. citizens have been held by immigration agents. They've been kicked, dragged, and detained for days. We are living in a country where Trump's law enforcement in masks can come up to you, even if you're an American citizen, harass you, detain you, mistreat you. You remember this Indonesian president story of a hot mic catching him walking up to Trump and going, I need to talk to Eric, like making business deals while Trump, which is exactly what they deny they're doing, which is crossing Trump's role as the president with his family business. But it was caught on a recording. And so then Eric Trump was, this is such a funny clip, was on CNN to respond and said, I am a good boy. In the clip, Trump goes, yeah, Eric's a good boy.
Obviously, there are investment projects happening in Indonesia. First off, have you heard from the president? Has he called you?
No, not about that, but I'm glad he acknowledges that I'm a good boy. I am a good boy.
That's an off-the-air discussion you need to have with your pops. We did
You're
not.
my daddy.
Yeah. We did not need to be subjected to that, your daddy problems, but okay. I am a good boy. Yeah, you actually, in Trump's eyes, you are a good boy. You're going around like a good little boy around the world, exploiting your proximity to power to make a whole bunch of money, whether or not it's in America's interest.